evening and welcome to Sun Middle Temple. We are so happy you joined us. My name is Alba and I use she, her pronouns. This is our first December observance and I'm so happy you are here. As always, the service is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel. We say, as always in months with holidays, please email us pictures of the natural world around you and vote on our holiday movie. We'd also love for you to participate in our stocking collective craft. And please, if you have not already, do the end of the year survey. It is very important that you do that. I plan everything based on the end of the year and mid-year survey, so please do that. And say we'll open today with our opening words, which will now appear on the slide behind you. Please feel free to listen as I read the words aloud or read them aloud at home along the way. We welcome you into the light of the gods and light this flame in celebration. May its brightness symbolize our connection to the gods and the natural world. May you join us in this community of faith, cherishing love and with open hearts. So our theme for this month is loneliness, and we have several readings today. And I'm going to sort of quickly get to those because I have limited time today, unfortunately. So we have our readings are Plato's Symposium, translated by Benjamin Jowett, Beowulf, translated by Leslie Hall, and Of a Happy Life by Seneca, translated by Roger L'Estrange. It's French. I don't know how to say it. Sorry. Okay, so we will begin with the speech from Plato's Symposium, and we're only doing the speech from Alcibiades. And now, my boys, I shall praise Socrates, in a figure which will appear to him to be a caricature, and yet I speak not to make fun of him, but only for the truth's sake. I say that he is exactly like the busts of Silenus, which are set up in the statuaries' shops, holding pipes and flutes in their mouths, and they are made to open in the middle and have images of gods inside them. I say also he is like Marsyas, the satyr. You yourself will not deny, Socrates, that your face is like that of a satyr. Aye, and there is resemblance in other points too. For example, you are a bully, as I can prove by witness, if you will not confess. And are you not a flute player? That you are, and a performer far more wonderful than Marsyas. He, indeed, with instruments used to charm the souls of men by the power of his breath, and the players of his music do so still, for the melodies of Olympus are derived from Marsyas, who taught them, and these, whether they are played by a great master or a miserable flute girl, have a power which no others have. They alone possess the soul and reveal the wants of those who have needs of gods and mysteries, because they are divine. But you produce the same effect with your words only, and do not require the flute. That is the difference between you and him. When we hear any other speaker, even a very good one, he produces absolutely no effect upon us, or not much. Whereas the mere fragments of you and your words, even at a second hand, and however imperfectly repeated, amaze and possess the souls of every man, woman, and child who comes within hearing of them. And if I were not afraid that you would think me hopelessly drunk, I would have sworn as well as spoken to the influence which they have always had and still have over me. For my heart leaps within me more than that of any Corybanthian reveler, and my eyes rain tears when I hear them, and I observe that many others are affected in the same manner. I have heard Pericles and other great orators, and I thought that they spoke well, but never had any similar feeling. My soul was not stirred by them, nor was I angry at the thought of my own slavish state. But this Marsyas has often brought to me such a pass that I have felt as if I could hardly endure the life which I am leading. This, Socrates, you will admit. And I am conscious that if I did not shut my ears against him and fly as from the voice of the siren, my fate would be like that of others. He would transfix me, and I should grow old sitting at his feet. For he makes me confess that I ought not to live as I do, neglecting the wants of my own soul, and busying myself with the concerns of the Athenians. Therefore I hold my ears and tear myself away from him. And he is the only person who ever made me ashamed, which you might not think to be in my nature, and there is no one else who does the same. For I know that I cannot answer him, or say that I ought not to do as he bids, but when I leave his presence, the love of popularity gets the better of me, and therefore I run away and fly from him, and when I see him I am ashamed of what I have confessed to him. Many a time have I wished that he were dead, and yet I know that I should be much more sorry than glad if he were to die, so that I am at my wit's end. And this is what I and many others have suffered from the flute playing of this satyr. Yet hear me once more while I show you how exact the image is and how marvelous his power. For let me tell you, none of you know him, but I will reveal him to you. Having begun, I must go on. See you how fond he is of the fair. He is always with them, and is always being smitten by them. And then again he knows nothing, and is ignorant of all things. Such is the appearance which he puts on. Is he not like Silenus in this? To be sure he is. His outer mask is the carved head of the Silenus, but, O my companions, in drink when he is opened, what temperance there is residing within! Know you that beauty and wealth and honour, at which the many wonder, are no account with him, and are utterly despised by him? He regards not at all the persons who are gifted with them. Mankind are nothing to him. All his life is spent in mocking and flouting at them. But when I opened him and looked within at his serious purpose, I saw in him divine and golden images of such fascinating beauty that I was ready to do, in a moment, whatever Socrates commanded. They may have escaped the observation of others, but I saw them. Now I fancied that he was seriously enamored of my beauty, and I thought that I should therefore have a grand opportunity of hearing him tell what he knew, for I had a wonderful opinion of the attractions of my youth. In the prosecution of this design, when I next went to him, I sent away the attendant who usually accompanied me. I will confess the whole truth and beg you to listen, and if I speak falsely, do you, Socrates, expose the falsehood? Well, he and I were alone together, and I thought that when there was nobody with us, I should hear him speak the language which lovers use to their loves when they are by themselves, and I was delighted. Nothing of the sort. He conversed as usual, and spent the day with me, and then went away. Afterwards I challenged him to the palestra, and he wrestled and closed with me several times when there was no one present. I fancied that I might succeed in this manner. Not a bit. I made no way with him. Lastly, as I had failed hitherto, I thought that I must take stronger measures and attack him boldly, and, as I had begun, not give him up, but see how matters stood between him and me. So I invited him to sup with me, just as if he were a fair youth and I a designing lover. He was not easily persuaded to come. He did, however, after a while accept the invitation, and when he came the first time he wanted to go away at once as soon as supper was over, and I had not the face to detain him. The second time, still in pursuance of my design, after we had supped, I went on conversing far into the night, and when he wanted to go away, I pretended that the hour was late and that he had much better remain. So he lay down on the couch next to me, and the same on which he had supped, and there was no one but ourselves sleeping in the apartment. All this may be told without shame to anyone, but what follows I could hardly tell you if I were sober. Yet, as the proverb says, in vino veritas, whether with boys or without them, and therefore I must speak. Nor, again, should I be justified in concealing the lofty actions of Socrates when I come to praise him. Moreover, I have felt the serpent's sting, and he who has suffered, as they say, is willing to tell his fellow sufferers only, as they alone will be likely to understand him, and will not be extreme in judging of the sayings or doings which have been wrung from his agony. For I have been bitten by more than a viper's tooth. I have known in my soul, or in my heart, or in some other part, that worst of pangs, more violent in ingenious youth than any serpent's tooth, the pang of philosophy, which will make a man say or do anything. And you whom I see around me, Phaedrus, and Agathon, and Eryximachus, and Pausanias, and Aristodemus, and Aristophanes, all of you, and I need not say Socrates himself, have had experience of the same madness and passion in your longing after wisdom. Therefore listen and excuse my doings then, and my sayings now. But let the attendants and other profane and unmannered person close up the doors of their ears. So then our next section is from Beowulf. It's translated by Leslie Hall. And this one is really, it's very old language. It's very hard to understand. So if you don't get it, it's fine. Ask me and I will send you the clip. And the clip will have little sections that will explain the different pieces. So if you need that, please let me know. Enemies ravaged alone now with Grendel. I shall manage the matter with the monster of evil. The giant decided to thee I would therefore beg of thy bounty, bright Danish chieftain, lord of Scoldings, this single petition, not to refuse me, defender of warriors, friend lord of folks, so far I have sought thee, that I may be unaided, my earlmen assisting me. This brave-mooted war-band purify Heorot. I have heard on inquiry the horrible creature. From veriest rashness recks not for weapons. This I do scorn then, so be he lack gracious, my liege lord, beloved, lenient of spirit, to bear a blade or a broad-fashioned target, a shield to the onset only with a hand grip. The foe I must grapple, fight for my life then. Foeman with foeman, he fain must rely on the doom of the Lord whom death layeth hold of. I ween he will wish, if he win in the struggle, to eat in the war-hall earls of the great folk, boldly to swallow them as of yore he did often, the best of the Hreathmen. Thou needest not trouble a head watch to give me, he will have me dripping and dreary with gore if death overtake me. Will bear me off bleeding, biting and mouthing me. The hermit will he eat me, heedless of pity, marking the more fens. No more wilt thou need then. Find me my food if I fall in the battle, and send to Higelac the armor that serveth to shield my bosom, the best of equipments, richest of ring-mails. 'Tis the relic of Hertha, work of the Wayland, goes weird as she must go. So then our final section for today is from Seneca. It's Of a Happy Life, and this is book 20, and it's decently long, and Seneca's a little annoying in the way he talks. As a busy life is always a miserable life, so it is the greatest of all miseries to be perpetually employed upon other people's business. For to sleep, to eat, to drink at their hour, to walk their pace, and to love and hate as they do is the vilest of servitudes. Now, though business must be quitted, let it not be done unreasonably. The longer we defer it, the more we endanger our liberty, and yet we must no more fly before the time than linger when the time comes. Or, however, we must not love business for business' sake, nor indeed do we, but for the profit that goes along with it, for we love the reward of misery, though we hate the misery itself. Many people, I know, seek business without choosing it, and they are even weary of their lives without it, for want of entertainment in their own thoughts. The hours are long and hateful to them, and when they are alone, and they seem as short on the other side as in their debauches, when they are no longer candidates, they are suffragans. And when they give over other people's business, they do their own, and pretend it business, but they make it, and value themselves upon being thought men of employment. Liberty is the thing which they are perpetually a-wishing, and never come to obtain. A thing never to be bought nor sold, but a man must ask it of himself, and give it to himself, that he has given public proof of his virtue in public, should do well to make a trial of it in private also. It is not that solitude, or country life teaches innocence or frugality, but vice falls of itself, without witnesses and spectators, for the thing it designs is to be taken notice of. Did ever any man put on rich clothes not to be seen, or spread the pomp of his luxury where nobody was to take notice of it? If it were not for admirers and spectators, there would be no temptations to excess. The very keeping of us from exposing them cures us of desiring them, for vanity and intemperance are fed with ostentation. He that has lived at sea in a storm, let him retire and die in the haven. But let his retreat be without ostentation, and wherein he may enjoy himself with a good conscience, without the want, the fear, the hatred, or the desire of anything. Not out of malevolent detestation of mankind, but for satisfaction and repose. He that shuns both business and men, either out of envy or any other discontent, his retreat is but to the life of a mole. Nor does he live to himself, as a wise man does, but to his ben, his belly, and his lusts. Many people seem to retire out of a weariness of public affairs and the trouble of disappointments, and yet ambition finds them out even in that recess into which fear and weariness had cast them, and so does luxury, pride, and most of the distempers of a public life. There are many that lie close, not that they may live securely, but that they may transgress more privately. It is their conscience, not their states, that makes them keep a porter, for they live at such a rate that to be seen before they be aware is to be detected. Crates saw a young man walking by himself. Have care, he says, of lewd company. Some men are busy in idleness, and make peace more laborious and troublesome than war. Nay, and more wicked too, when they bestow it upon such lusts and other vices, which even the license of a military life would not endure. We cannot call these people men of leisure, that are wholly taken up with their pleasures. A troublesome life is much to be preferred before a slothful one. And it is a strange thing, methinks, that any man should fear death, that has buried himself alive, as privacy without letters is but the burying of a man quick. There are some that make a boast of their retreat, which is but a kind of lazy ambition. They retire to make people talk of them, whereas I would rather withdraw to speak to myself. And what shall that be, but that which we are apt to speak of one another? I will speak ill of myself. I will examine, accuse, and punish my infirmities. I have no design to be cried up for a great man that has renounced the world in a contempt of the vanity and madness of human life. I blame nobody but myself, and I address only to myself. He that comes to me for help is mistaken. For I am not a physician, but a patient. And I shall be well enough content to have it said, when any man leaves me, I took him for a happy and learned man, and truly I find no such matter. I had rather have my retreat pardoned than envied. There are some creatures that confound their footing about their dens, that they may not be found out, and so should a wise man in the case of his retirement. When the door is open, the thief passes it by, as not worth his while, but when it is bolted and sealed, it is a temptation for people to be prying. To have it said that such a one is never out of his study and sees nobody, etc. This furnishes matter for discourse. He that makes his retirement too strict and severe does as good as call company to take notice of it. Every man knows his own constitution. One eases by his stomach by vomit, another supports it with good nourishment. He that has the gout forbears wine and bathing, and every man applies to the part that is most infirm. He that shows a gouty foot or a lame hand or contracted nerves shall be permitted to lie still and attend his cure. And why not so in the vices of the mind? We must discharge all impediments and make way for philosophy, as a study inconsistent with common business. To all other things we must deny ourselves open and frankly when we are sick, refuse visits, keep ourselves close, and lay aside all public cares, and Shall we not do as much when we philosophize? Business is the drudgery of the world, and only fit for slaves. But contemplation is the work of wise men. Not but that solitude and company may be allowed to take their turns. The one creates in us the love of mankind, the other that of ourselves. Solitude relieves us when we are sick of company, and conversation when we are weary of being alone. So that the one cures the other. There is no man in fine so miserable as he that is at a loss of how to spend his time. He is restless in his thoughts, unsteady in his counsel, dissatisfied with the present, solicitous for the future, whereas that he prudently computes his hours and his business, does not only fortify himself against the common accidents of life, but improves the most rigorous dispensations of providence to his comfort, and stands firm under all the trials of human weakness. So each of these excerpts has a very different perspective on solitude and loneliness. Alcibiades is heartbroken over his loneliness and the fact that Socrates is not returning his affections. And Beowulf considers his fighting alone against Grendel, if you didn't know that's what was happening, he was saying, I'm going to fight Grendel alone, to be honorable based on the fact that Grendel is also fighting alone. And Seneca is using loneliness and solitude as a tool of learning and self-improvement. Each of these different perspectives are valuable despite their differences, and there are questions that arise from each of them. Is loneliness in companionship different from loneliness in combat, and different still from loneliness in self-improvement? Do these different ends have or require different solutions? Are they all negative forms of feeling, or are they positive? I hope you all think on this in the next week, and consider it, as next week we will be looking at one of my favorite examples of loneliness, and a very destructive one, but still it's a wonderful example. So we'll now move into the ritual portion of our observance, and I will set up the mic for that. Give me 10 seconds. We leave this offering for our gods to symbolize our connection and devotion. We gift this rock to symbolize the stability of the gods in our world. We gift this water to accept the flow of our lives. We welcome life and bless our offerings with oil to share our riches. We embrace our connection to each other and the world and celebrate our revival. So now we'll move into our closing words and as always, please feel free to read along at home or just listen as I read the words aloud. As we move out into the world, let us remember our community of faith. Cherish love and open your heart as you walk through life. Hold dear the light of the gods and our connection with the natural world. Go forth in celebration and carry the light of connection within your heart. I will also take this time to again remind you to pretty please do the end of year survey. So thank you very much.